Have you ever wondered how to pair a cigar with a beautiful glass of wine? We're here with Zach today from Churchill's Bistro and Cigar Lounge, and he's the beverage director and sommelier here, and he's going to show us how to do that.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Yeah, exciting.
Even though you're in my place, but
yeah, it's okay. Yeah. So, Sandiha Wine Cellars offerings are a Howell Mountain Cabernet Sauvignon, a Oakville Cabernet Sauvignon,
Yep.
and a Chardonnay from Carneros.
Lovely.
All in Napa, all single vineyard, the great stuff. You know how it is.
Excellent wine.
Thank you, thank you.
We're very happy to be carrying it here at Churchill's.
Yeah, we're excited to be here too.
Excellent.
It's gonna be a fun journey. So we're gonna start off with the Howell Mountain, which we call the Reserve
Okay.
from Napa. So what types of cigars would you pair with the profile of a Howell Mountain cab?
Well, our Howell Mountain here, it's got that beautiful purple color with almost like a garnet ring on it. It's absolutely lovely. And the flavor intensity on it really lends for a larger cigar. I will say it is often tricky to pair wine and cigars together because they have a very similar effect. Tannins and the smoke from the cigar both have a drying effect in the mouth. So when they come together, they often cancel each other out. So it's really tricky to find cigars that can actually cut through that and still maintain flavor for the both of them.
Okay. So what would you go for something with the profile of the Howell Mountain?
So the Howell Mountain, like I said, full-bodied red with a great flavor intensity. So you're gonna want something bold with some good flavors. You're smoking the original Opus X in the shark shape, the Opus X Shark. I'm smoking the Byron Reserva. And both of these have a good, strong profile with a little bit of pepper, but not overly powerful. They also don't have that quite drying sensation as much in the mouth as some other cigars, just based on the composition of the cigar. So both of these should allow the fruit from the wine to come out and the spiciness from the tobacco to come out, and they should blend together very,
So
very well.
you call these medium plus?
Medium plus.
Yeah.
Medium plus.
Okay.
This one more pushing towards the full body.
Sure. Beautiful. Okay, so now if we go to the Oakville, we have a few cigars that we selected. We fought over which ones to take here. So for the Oakville, which is compared to the Howell, how would you describe it?
I would compare it a little bit as a lighter body Cabernet, but still with a great fruit-forward presence, a great integrated tannin profile, and a little bit of acid just to kind of cut through everything.
Sure. So what kind of cigar would you pair with that?
I picked actually our house cigar, which is the Tristan brand. It's actually named after my owner's firstborn, and as the other kids came along, they also got like cigars named within the Tristan brand. This is the Habano wrapper, which is a big, full-bodied cigar with lots of spice. The full-bodiedness of this cigar, I think, is just going to cut right through that Oakville's acid and just blend really well with that grapefruit and provide a little bit of spice to go along with it.
And I had this cigar 2 weekends ago. You gifted me one of these.
I did, but that was like one of the original old batches. The cellophane was like brown.
I was shocked.
Yeah,
And then I asked what the
beautiful.
price was, and you told me, and I was even more shocked because
It's a $10 cigar.
Yeah, and it smokes like a $30 cigar.
It does.
It's phenomenal. They did a great job, honestly. with
Thank
that.
you, thank you.
How involved were they with the process in making this cigar?
Exceptionally involved.
Okay.
There were a couple trips to Nicaragua involved, multiple batches being sent back and forth with sample cigars,
Yeah.
and it was definitely a labor of love.
Did you get to join that journey?
I didn't. This is before my time with the company,
fair
unfortunately.
enough.
But
Fair enough.
you know, there's always new brands coming out. We just released a new Churchill's brand made for us by Fuente in that bargain out of their Nicaraguan factory. $8 a cigar, and they are absolutely lovely.
That's awesome. So I picked one of my favorites, and this is the Fuente. It's a Hemingway line, Between the Lines.
It's limited edition. Only comes out for Christmas because it's like the candy cane barber pole kind of look to it. Great light-bodied cigar. What do you like about this cigar?
I like that it's medium bodied, but it has a lot of nuance.
Yes.
Like there's a lot going on, and I think that has to do with, you tell me if I'm right, the natural and Maduro wrappers with
Correct.
the barbershop? Okay.
It's what we call a double wrap cigar. The way they get that barber pole effect is they're actually putting two wrapper leaves next to each other and then rolling the cigar.
Yeah.
So you're actually getting double flavor off of that. The wrapper, of course, is responsible for 80% of the cigar's flavor.
Wow.
Most of the taste you're getting is coming from the wrapper,
Beautiful.
with the rest of the influence from the binder and the filler.
Beautiful. Well, it's delicious. I just wish they made a full size or like a Churchill size of this.
I don't know. Next time you run into Arturo Fuente or
Yeah.
Carlito Fuente, you can ask.
They're not gonna, they're not gonna do it. All right. So the last bottle of wine we have to pair is the Chardonnay from Carneros.
Absolutely.
Which is, again, it's 100% Chardonnay, single vineyard. And tell us about how to pair cigars with the Chard.
So white wine is generally a lot easier because you don't have that tannin structure that fights against the cigar. So what you're looking for is what's not going to fight against the natural body of the wine. So when it comes to Chardonnay, yours is not 100% mallow, which is my personal preference.
Same.
But there's enough in there to give it some body and some structure, and it's going to give it that nice creamy effect. So a lighter cigar, in general, like a Connecticut wrap, as you picked the Padron Damaso. I believe you told me that was one of your family members' favorite cigars.
My father's favorite cigar.
Yeah.
You'll find many boxes of these in the humidor. Yep. That's why I picked it for him.
Yeah. So in that case, it's a really rich, smooth Connecticut wrapper with just that little touch of Nicaraguan Padron spice, and I think that will go beautifully with your Chardonnay. Definitely one of my top 2 sellers. Davidoff Padron are probably at my top 2.
And the Padron, the regular natural, we got it in 7000 series. We smoked that last night.
Oh, that's a big one.
That's a phenomenal
That's the
stick.
60 gauge.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it was an hour and a half we were smoking it.
I believe it.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was a great experience.
believe it.
What did you pick for yours?
I picked the Davidoff Colorado Claro. Fantastic cigar. Probably one of my favorites out of the Davidoff line. It is a Colorado Claro wrapper, which is a Claro is a little bit darker than a Connecticut, but not quite as. It's like a little bit lighter than a natural, if that makes sense. And I love this cigar because it has a very lovely natural sweetness into it, but it also has a nice toastiness that comes with it that will bring out the lovely barrel notes in the Chardonnay.
Beautiful. Thank you for that explanation.
My pleasure.
You hear all these stories about Winston Churchill smoking cigars and drinking champagne.
Cognac.
Or cognac. So I tried it 2 months ago, and I fell in love with the cigar and champagne pairing.
Lovely pairing.
So why does that work so well?
Champagne is kind of that all-inclusive type of wine. It literally can go with anything.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, of course.
One of my personal favorite pairings is champagne and steak.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And many people look at me like I'm crazy, but it just, for me, it complements so well because it's, I don't know, it's basically like the wine version of Coca-Cola, not to play down champagne at all, but it just goes with everything.
Sure.
Everything. It's clean, it's crisp, it refreshes the palate, and keeps the smoking experience going perfectly.
It was phenomenal. I did it. I was like, man, Winston knows what he's doing. That's why he won a world war. You know?
I don't know if I would want to be next to him while he's puffing on those cigars in an airtight bunker, but...
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what other pairings do you like with cigars? Is it bourbon, cognac, scotch? I know a lot of people do different things.
Absolutely. And I mean, the number one rule is smoke and drink what you like. If you find something that works for you, go with it. Don't let anybody tell you what's right, what's wrong. I mean, we have a name for that person, but probably not.
No, not for the cameras.
Not best for camera, but...
what are your personal favorites?
I'm a bourbon drinker.
Me too.
But you can really pair a cigar with any type of spirit.
Sure.
I'll often be asking customers in the humidor, what are you drinking tonight? And they'll tell me, oh, I'm drinking this tequila. And then I'll say, oh, well, I think this cigar will go well with the plant notes from the agave and the barrel notes and blah, blah, blah. And you can really just kind of fit the cigar to the drink, or you can fit the drink to the cigar. Like, I really want to smoke this tonight. What should I drink with it?
Sure. So I like barrel-proof bourbon. What's the best pairing with the cigar for barrel-proof bourbon?
With barrel-proof bourbon, do you add water or no?
No. I like it spicy. I like it spicy.
Most distillers would not agree with you. But anyway, barrel-proof bourbon, you're going to want something strong. You're going to want something with a big, bold flavor profile to kind of cut through that alcohol level, because that alcohol level is just going to quash everything.
So like a Maduro, or is there a specific?
Definitely something Maduro, spicy, maybe Nicaragua, because Nicaragua is kind of known for its spice. La Flor Dominicana, also known for its big, bold flavor profiles, or EP Carrillo, also really known for its big, bold.
I think I had a barrel-proof, my favorite pairing with a barrel-proof bourbon was a 1926 anniversary Padron.
Okay.
And it's got that spice, and really...
natural or Maduro?
Maduro.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was a small little guy, but someone
Yeah.
suggested do this with this one, and I said, I
Which bourbon?
think it was Elijah Craig Barrel Proof.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, rich, syrupy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that going
Yeah.
very, yeah.
It was wonderful. So what do you look for when you're trying to pair beverage with cigar and a customer comes up to you at the bar?
Yeah, absolutely. So you want to look at the basic flavor profile of both. So let's take a wine, for example. Is it a especially tannic wine? Is it very fruit forward? Is it got a lot of barrel notes going through it? And then you're going to want to find a cigar that matches those flavors. So something with a lot of barrel notes going through it, you're going to want to find something with those nice toasty flavors, because that's what's going to bring out those barrel notes.
So are you matching the cigar flavor and the wine flavor, or are you doing polar opposites?
And sometimes polar opposites even work better, especially with cigars, because you're coming in and meeting in the middle.
Sure. So what's the composition of a cigar? I know it's tobacco.
It's tobacco.
Dive a little deeper into the elements of it.
Right, so the outermost, well, we'll start with the basic construction. Where you cut and where you smoke from is called the head, or the
Okay.
cap. And where you light is called the foot. The outermost layer is called the wrapper. That's where 80% of your flavor comes from.
Beautiful.
And then you have the binder, which holds the innermost part, the filler, together.
Okay.
So basic construction is they will roll that filler, wrap it in a binder, and then put it in a mold to set it. And then once it's been set, they will wrap the wrapper around it.
Beautiful. And how do we know what's the best way to cut the cigar? Is it based on shape? Is it based on preference?
It's both. You'll find there are many diehard cigar smokers that say, no, this cut is the only cut that's acceptable. For me, I'm a straight cut guy. I will straight cut everything.
Yeah.
Depending again on the shape, like yours, I cut on the angle.
Yeah, I see that
Just
there.
to kind of bring in a little bit more smoke. So my preference is the straight cut.
Sure.
There are people who do prefer the V cut, which is a little bit more restrictive. It'll pull a little bit less smoke, but it gets deeper in, so it'll give an improved draw. And then there's the one cut I really don't recommend for most people is called the punch, and it's just a little hole that goes in there. And I don't recommend it often because it's really hard to do, and you're most likely going to end up cracking your cigar in the process. And number two, it's the most restrictive, so you're not going to get as much flavor out of it.
Fair enough. So if someone's a beginner in smoking cigars, what type of questions do you ask them to lead them to know what to recommend them if they come into the humidor?
Are we talking like fresh, never smoked a cigar before in their life, or like just kind of getting
in their journey?
Okay.
Yeah, starting their journey off.
I would kind of ask them. Well, first I would ask them if they smoke anything else, cigarettes or other substances.
I tried an Ashton before.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
So did you like the Ashton?
Sure.
What did you like about it?
It was smooth.
It was smooth. Great. So are we looking for something similar in flavor, or would we kind of want to venture out a little bit?
I want to venture out. I think it was just too mild. It just stayed flat the whole time.
Excellent, excellent. So then from there, we can go to a bunch of different things. Like, do we want to go something 1 time stronger, 2 times stronger, or just go full board all the way?
Give me one level up.
1 level up. Great. So we're going to look for something maybe in a natural wrapper, maybe in a light Maduro, like the Fuente Maduro, which is, like I say, all the benefits of the dark wrapper without any of the body or the strength. Or we're going to go into something like a Padron Natural, or probably most likely a Fuente Hemingway is probably one of my basic go-tos for first-time cigar smokers.
Beautiful.
If you poll most of my regulars, I'd probably say more than half of them would say a Hemingway was their first cigar.
Okay, fair enough. And so you touched on this a little bit, but what's the difference between a natural wrapper and a Maduro wrapper?
Color.
Okay.
So, in order to get to this point, the wrappers are open air fermented. Well, there's actually 2 fermentation processes. One is open air, and the other one is fire cured. But we don't really need to get into fire cured too much. The longer you ferment it, the darker the color gets. And so, really, the only difference between natural and Maduro is, quote unquote, the color. Maduro isn't necessarily a type of cigar; it's a color.
Okay.
But generally speaking, the longer you ferment those cigars, the stronger the flavors, the more intense the flavors become. But how you control that with the other elements of the cigar is the important thing.
Okay. So if you're looking at a cigar, how do you know if it's lighter or stronger if the color doesn't matter that much?
The color does matter.
Okay.
I would say 9 times out of 10, the darker the cigar, the more intense the flavor.
Okay.
There are exceptions. Like I said, that Fuente Maduro, the Ashton Maduro. There are other types of processes in which you could get a dark wrapper that doesn't necessarily have a strong flavor. But the Fuente Maduro is just, it's so beautiful and so sweet, and just gets all those beautiful nutty, toasty flavors that it's just, for me, it's probably one of the perfect Maduros. But.
So you're saying we got to try wines, do research to know, is it mild, medium, full? That's the only way to learn. Just kind of go through it.
Yeah, I mean, smoke and drink. I mean, it's the same thing with wine. How did you learn about wine?
Yeah.
You just started opening bottles probably, and you're like, oh, I like this, I don't like this, I open, and then you start reading more about why.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with cigars. You know, trust your humidor attendants. Go in, talk to them, ask lots of questions, and we'll get you there eventually. You know, tell us what you liked, what you didn't like. If you can tell us why, even better, and we'll get you in the right track.
Beautiful. Okay, so when do you use a soft lighter versus a torch lighter?
That's personal preference.
Okay.
I am a bit old school. I love the soft flame, which is the regular old fire like you see here, and then the other option is the torch, which looks like a jet engine coming out. And it all depends on what you like. The problem I see with the torch most of the time is most people don't know how to use it. So you'll see people with that torch and they'll be right up into that thing, and they're basically just burnt, literally, I mean, if you pardon the pun, they're burning their cigar.
Yeah, destroying the flavors.
You're just completely destroying the flavors. The object of when you're lighting a cigar is to just use the heat. So when you're dealing with a soft flame, you want to be just over the tip when you toast and when you light.
So that fire is not going into the foot of the cigar. You're hovering over the...
You're hovering over it and you're using the heat.
Okay.
The tip of that flame and the tip of the jet flame or the torch flame is the hottest part.
Beautiful. Okay.
So when you're using that torch, don't be afraid to be a couple of inches away.
Okay.
And you'll see it making its mark on the cigar.
Okay, and when should you ash the cigar then?
So there's two schools of thought. The first school of thought is don't ash the cigar until it's ready. So some will say just leave it on and it'll fall off when it's ready.
I don't want it to get on my clothes, man.
So if you go to ash it, well, first of all, how to ash a cigar,
Sure.
You should never tap it on your ashtray. You will crack your cigar.
And then it doesn't smoke as well, correct?
It'll fall apart,
Yeah.
quite literally. And you don't know how many times I've seen customers come to me and say, why is my cigar falling apart? I'm like, well, tell me how you ash your cigar. And he's like, well, I just tap it.
Okay.
I'm like, that's why.
Yeah, you got a gentle roll, right?
Gentle. Take your cigar and you just want to roll it up against the edge of the ashtray or the side of the ashtray and let that ash come off. Now, if the ash doesn't start coming off, it's probably not ready. Leave it on for a little while longer and try again. That ash actually does create kind of, not necessarily a filter, but an insulator that keeps the heat inside and keeps those flavors more consistent.
Beautiful. So how did your cigar journey start?
So my first cigar was in college. I have a background as a singer, so I'm like, why would I ever want to go smoke a cigar? I actually trained in opera. And so I had this friend in college who, I mean, he was much more well-to-do than any of us. And whenever he took us out to the bar, the rule was, and his name was Faisal, he was Jordanian. Whenever we went out to the bar with Faisal, it was like he would pay, but whatever Faisal orders, you've got to do. And he's like, we're doing cigars tonight. And this is still the time we could still smoke in bars.
Sure.
And so I'm like, I don't know. And so it was a Romeo and Juliet Rothschild. And I don't know, I lit it up and the flavor was so fantastic. I was hooked from then.
I've hated cigars my whole life.
Yeah?
Up until recently. Really, I haven't gotten into it. So this has been a fun journey. It's just like the wine journey, like you said.
It's very, very much similar.
You kind of start with the basic, the mild, or with the wine. In the wine case, it's like what's fruity or sweet. And then you work your way through the lineup.
Yep, absolutely. And you'll go back to the stuff you used to smoke or used to drink and you'll say, wow, I really don't like this anymore. Yeah. Or you'll go back to that old stuff and you're like, yeah, this is still relevant for me. And it's a journey and you're gonna find stuff that you're go through phases. Like, I'm just getting out of a Honduran phase in my cigars and now I'm moving back into like a Nicaraguan phase.
Sure.
In my wines, I've been into a deep California phase, and now I think I'm moving back into like a Rhone phase or a Spanish phase. I haven't quite figured it out yet. But
sure. Well, now you're coming back to Howell. You're coming back to Oakville and
well, come on, Howell Mountain is like probably one of the top sections in Napa Valley. Some of the most coveted fruit.
Mm-hmm. So we got our hands on some good ones. Though.
You did.
So that's the fun part. Howell Mountain really took us in a different wine path.
I believe it.
Inspired us to start Sandiha Wine Cellars. It was the Howell Mountain. We're like, this is amazing juice. How do we make this stuff? So that's how that started. So how long does a cigar stay lit for? And if it dies, can you relight it?
Yes. So, how long kind of depends on the construction of the cigar. One of the ways that I and some of my other friends judge quality is if you can set it down, go do something else for about 10 minutes, come back, and it's still ready to go. But it will eventually go out.
Sure. And
when you go to relight it, first thing is you want to make sure you take the ash off. Because if you really light it with the ash on, guaranteed 100%, it's going to fall right on you. And when you go to relight your cigar, keep in mind the same procedures that you would use to light it for the first time. It's hopefully still warm. You don't want to necessarily let a cigar go out and then go back to it like a day later.
Okay.
I would say like you probably have like an hour, maybe 2 window where you can finish your cigar, but like don't cut it off and leave it in a Ziploc bag for 2 days and expect it to taste as good when you go to relight it.
So next day you can't?
No, it's not going to. I mean, you can.
Yeah.
It's just not going to taste the same as it was. I mean, on that first inch or so is probably going to taste like a dirty ashtray.
Sure. But similar to wine, right? Wine
Similar.
you can let sit for a few days, and some wines will last longer than others. But
Oh, I mean, come on, your Howell Mountain sat on my kitchen table in a decanter for a week and still had room to grow. I mean, that was the most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Especially out of California, I've never seen anything last that long.
It's a cellar selection, okay?
It is
Wine
awesome.
enthusiast cellar selection.
Awesome.
So it's going to last. So when should you take the foil or the label off of the cigar?
So that actually depends on local custom. In Europe, you will often see people, before they light the cigar, take the wrapper off and put it on the table. So as if it's like, oh, I'm not being pretentious about what I'm smoking, but there it is for everybody to see anyway.
Sure.
Europeans.
Yeah.
In the US, we generally take it off as we get closer to the band. In general, however, most cigars, they use a little bit of glue to put the band on and stick it together. So you really do want to wait till it gets a little bit warmer, let that glue go free, because if you try and pull it off too early, sometimes you will rip that wrapper right off the cigar.
Beautiful. In the humidor, you see a lot of different shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
Talk about that for us.
The shapes some of the shapes have stories behind them and some of them don't. The Churchill, for example, was the favored size of Winston Churchill, therefore it got the name. But now even the Churchill has a variance in size depending on the cigar maker. But different shapes can smoke differently. If we're talking about a general cigar shape and it's just a little bit longer or a little bit thinner, probably not going to be that much difference. But if we're talking about something this size versus something a lot thicker,
Sure.
that's going to smoke differently. The thicker the gauge of the cigar, the more fresh air that's coming in, which will smooth out the flavors a little bit. Also, the thicker gauge of the cigar, the more smoke you'll produce.
Okay.
So, also more flavor in that. Then you have different shapes. We have kind of one here
Yeah.
with the Perfecto, which actually starts out thicker and actually tapers down.
Okay.
So what we're dealing with here, and then you have another one that's a Salomon, which starts out thinner, then it gets thicker, and then it starts tapering down. As we start having those types of shapes, yes, the flavors of the cigar are going to change with the shape because your binder to filler to wrapper ratio, binder filler to wrapper ratio are changing constantly.
Okay.
So when it's thicker, you have more filler, more binder, and it's going to take away a little bit from that wrapper flavor. And as it gets thinner again, you're going to get more of that wrapper flavor influence again.
Do you have a preference on a shape?
I am generally a Toro smoker, which is about a 6-inch cigar with a 55 ring gauge.
Okay.
That is generally my go-to, but I go all over the place. I am also a big fan of Lanceros, which are about yay long, I don't know, about 7-8 inches long, and it's a 38 ring gauge, which is about half the thickness, half the diameter of a dime.
So it's very thin.
It's very, very thin.
So that accentuates the flavors in the cigar?
So that's the big myth around that cigar is, number one, cigar shops hate carrying them because they don't sell because people don't know what to do with it. It's so thin and so long, and they feel like they look silly.
Men are insecure.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
think
Absolutely.
It's too feminine to smoke it like that, yeah.
My personal opinion is that you're getting more of that wrapper. So you're using the same amount of wrapper on pretty much every size cigar. You're using a single leaf. But on that Lancero, you're going to have to go around 3, maybe 4 times to get it all the way through. So you're getting a lot more wrapper.
Okay.
And thereby getting a lot more flavor. a lot of cigar manufacturers say that that's a complete myth. One of the big proponents of that myth, of saying that it's a myth, is Steve Saka, who says it's like absolutely crazy. He doesn't understand these Lancero smokers at all. But I happen to love them.
Sure. And then the difference between a rounded cigar and a box pressed.
Absolutely. So a box pressed cigar will have better airflow, hands down. For me, better airflow means better flavor. I've actually smoked the same cigar side to side, box press and non-box press, and I found that the box press had a much more intense flavor.
Fair enough. And do certain cigars have a stronger or more of a draw than others? Is that based on brand? Is that based on quality? Or is that just...
It's kind of based on who rolled it.
Okay.
I mean, it's based on overall construction. So how consistently can these cigar manufacturers maintain their rollers? How consistent can these rollers, because I mean, we're talking about maybe 20 to 50 rollers all going along at the same time at different skill levels. So yeah, the quality of the draw just depends on the construction of the cigar.
Fair enough. So cigar storage. You see cigars in cigar shops are in humidors.
Mm-hmm.
How long do these cigars last? Is there a certain humidity or temperature that you strive for in the cigars?
Absolutely.
Teach us about that.
Okay, so your target humidity for a cigar, depending on where you are in the world, because that has a little bit to do with it, are you in a more humid part of the world? You're gonna, it's not gonna require as much maintenance. Let's say here in Michigan, in the winter, the humidors kind of suffer a little bit. You're shooting for that 68 to 72 percent humidity. Anything higher than the 72, your cigars will start getting that kind of wet taste. But some people like it in that 75 to 76. Depends on the type of cigars. I find that my Cubans do particularly well at like closer to 68. But my Nicaraguan, New World, Nicaraguan Dominicans, they do much better closer to like 70, 71. Just like wine, it'll store and it'll age. The cigars age kind of on a curve, just like wine. They'll go up, they'll have a peak, and then they'll start declining. I mean, theoretically, you can age them for as long as you want, but after a while, it's just going to taste like smoking air. Just like when a wine dies, it's going to be like...
Sure. That Tristan that you gave me that I smoked, how long was that aged for?
I want to say that was probably 5 to 7 years.
Is that appropriate for that type of cigar?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was phenomenal. I've never had an aged cigar before. That was my first experience.
Oh, really?
I loved it, yeah. You
Well,
need to
actually,
find more.
all those opuses, they age them before they release them.
Okay.
Too.
So how long is this aged for?
I want to say that's post-roll probably 2 or 3 years.
Okay, beautiful. It's so delicate. It's beautiful.
It's
I love
gorgeous
this cigar. So after I go into the store and go and grab a cigar from the humidor, how do I age it at home?
So you're going to need some kind of humidor at home. Do you need a fancy cedar one? That's the ideal. That's the gold standard. And they come in various price ranges and various sizes. You can pretty much find a cedar humidor in almost any price range. Again, it just depends on quality. You want something that gives you a decent enough seal so that all of your humidity isn't leaking out. What I recommend actually to early cigar smokers before they really want to invest in that humidor is to use either a Ziploc bag or a piece of Tupperware, or even like a classic Coleman cooler works exceptionally well because it has that nice tight seal. You get these, they're called a Boveda pack, and they're two-way regulating humidity, and you just toss them in there depending on how many sticks you have, and it'll hold perfectly.
And I've seen those packs, they have 68%, 70%. Is that a preference thing? Is it based on cigar? Which percentage would you recommend to somebody who walked in and said, I want to store?
It depends on your humidor. So I might ask you, it's like, okay, have you used these before? Yes. Is this the percentage you used before? Yes. What does your hygrometer, what does your meter read at? Does it read exactly on there? No, it's a couple off. Okay, so if it's a couple off, is it up or down? Let's try and get you something to get you back up into that, to the percentage you want to.
So it's fairly affordable to store cigars at home. You buy a little Tupperware set that clasps, you buy the humidity packs, and that's really it, huh?
I would recommend getting at least a cedar sheet to put in the bottom of that Tupperware.
Okay.
The cedar does, one, it helps with the flavor development, and two, it does also help prevent those tobacco beetles.
Beautiful.
To an extent.
Beautiful. I've never been to a cigar bar that's as beautiful as this place is.
Thank you.
We're at Churchill's in Rochester. So talk to us about the offerings at Churchill's.
So we have 4 locations. We have, of course, this one here in Rochester. We have downtown Birmingham. We have Grosse Pointe, which is right by St. John's Hospital off Mac. And then we have West Bloomfield at 15 Mile and Orchard Lake Road. all with various different offerings. Both the Birmingham and the Grosse Pointe locations have full kitchens, so you can go have a upscale fine dining dinner with your cigar and your full bar
And your Sandiha wine.
and your Sandiha wine. Absolutely. I mean, it goes great with our Churchill's ribeye. Can't go wrong.
Yep.
And yeah, smoke, eat, and drink all in the same place.
Beautiful. And so, is there a food offering at Rochester and West Bloomfield?
So here in Rochester, we have upscale gourmet panini sandwiches. We're actually catering them in from a private vendor. It's not like this massive food wholesaler type of thing. They're handmade, curated sandwiches with fresh made bread daily, and we have a panini press in store, and you can have it either hot or cold, however you like.
Sure.
In West Bloomfield, however, we don't have any food offerings. We have some snack offerings, but you're more than welcome to bring in your own food.